Welcome to Prime 9, the countdown show that covers the very best in baseball. Guaranteed to start arguments, not end them. In this episode, it's the 9 greatest draft day long shots. Why 9? That's baseball. 9 players, 9 innings. Prime 9. You're about to meet the top 9 players who best fit 2 criteria. They blossomed and produced long and valuable careers in the majors, despite being taken late in the draft.
The perfect game! Oh, baby! Kenny Rogers!
Our time frame for this show only goes back to 1965, the inaugural year of the Major League Baseball first-year player draft. Our players had to have been taken in the June portion of that draft, and they had to have signed out of that draft. In addition, our cutoff point was the 20th round or lower, which means that hundreds of other prospects were picked before them.
Look at the play by Burley! Mercy! Wow!
So here are the 9 greatest draft day long shots who became memorable big league players. We begin with number 9 on Prime 9. He wasn't selected until the 26th round. But Dusty Baker knew he was better than that.
I didn't consider myself a long shot. I thought I was number 1.
Way to go!
When I look back, I mean, it didn't mean anything to me because I just knew I was going to make it.
He debuted with Atlanta in 1968 and impressed his teammates.
Hank Aaron once said that Dusty Baker had the most potential out of any outfielder that he had ever seen with the Atlanta Braves.
Well, it's amazing for a 26th rounder like Dusty Baker to make the major leagues. It's even more amazing for him to play 19 seasons.
And in 6 of those seasons, he hit 20 or more home runs.
Average at the deep left field.
He had the ability to hit anywhere in the lineup from second to fifth.
He won Gold Gloves, he played on pennant-winning teams, and it shows you how much mileage Baker got out of his talent.
That competitive spirit paid dividends for the Dodgers in the 70s and early 80s.
Dusty was not only a very, very talented baseball player, but he's one of the smartest baseball players I've ever been around in my life.
Smart and clutch, hitting .371 in 17 LCS games. The series MVP in '77.
Can't get it.
People forget that Dusty Baker was a key component to the 1981 World Championship Ball Club.
Dusty led that team in batting and proved to all he was far better than a 26th round draft pick.
You know, I had a little chip on my shoulder probably because of that. But I just knew that whatever I wanted to do, whatever I put my mind to, I was better than anybody thought I was other than me.
Another day in the big leagues, baby.
Orlando Hudson has had quite a baseball career, especially for someone drafted in the 43rd round.
When a player is drafted 1,280th in the amateur draft, they don't expect him to make the big leagues.
That's J-Dub right there, baby.
But if you think Hudson was upset at being chosen when he was, well, you don't know O-Dog.
It would have never bothered Orlando Hudson, the fact that he got drafted so late. He's the type of guy where nothing seems to bother him. He works hard and has a lot of fun.
I'm gonna come out here hacking, though.
Taken by Toronto in the '97 draft, Hudson debuted 5 years later and has never looked back.
Great play by Orlando Hudson. Got him.
There aren't many first-round picks who can field their position like this 43rd rounder.
There's the Gold Glover. There's the out.
He was a wizard. He covered ground both left and right.
Hudson to the bag. Oh, he got him.
Still another of Hudson's calling cards. Everywhere he's played is his infectious personality.
He out. He out. He out.
Simply put, the man has never had a loss for words.
That dude throwing 96, dog.
Teammates everywhere, wherever he's played, love playing with Orlando Hudson.
Can I ask you a question? Why are you whispering?
You know, it was a very effervescent personality, to put it mildly.
It came out so fluid, dog, and then y'all were listening.
You talk about motor mouth, he's constantly talking.
Oh, yeah, baby, go out there and have fun. That's all I can do, baby.
Comes to the field, you know, he's one of the loudest people in the clubhouse, but he's one of the most positive people to be around.
Oh, how you doing?
What's going on, big man? How you doing, baby?
Doing great. Big dog right there.
Bam!
I don't think you have to be around him very long to know what he's about.
Hey, what's up there, young buck?
He's about energy, about passion, loves coming out here playing the game.
This is why he's won Gold Gloves.
Ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen in my territory.
Well, it did happen for this long shot.
Fires to first in time.
He just said, give me a chance, I'll have some fun, and look where it took him.
Line drive, left field, Padres win.
It took him to an incredible Major League Baseball career.
You know what? We got to cut.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the game's greatest draft day long shots. We've made our case for 9 and 8, which means it's time for number 7.
You're a 24th round pick, so there are no guarantees there.
No.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I got drafted all the way up in the 24th round. Not only I was the 24th pick for the Cubs, but I was like the 4th first baseman they took in the draft. So they thought enough of 3 other first basemen before me just in that year alone. So, yeah, I wasn't supposed to be here. You don't get any breaks when you're a 24th round pick. If you go out and struggle your first year, they'll send you and your bad batting average back to wherever you came from, and you'll probably never play again. So it had to happen quick, and it did for me, fortunately.
Mark Grace, and that's his first big league hit.
Not only did the 85 draft pick have a solid rookie season 3 years later, he became a postseason sensation against the Giants in the 89 NLCS.
That was kind of my coming out party, I guess you could say.
Ripped down the right field line, in there. It'll clear the bases.
It just seemed like every time I came up, I got a hit.
Almost. Mark hit an amazing .647 with 8 RBIs in the 5-game series.
Boy, he is amazing.
I think players that are drafted low, such as the case of Mark Grace, they take it personally, and they show who they really are.
Great stop by Grace and a nice play on the feed.
He was a human vacuum at first base, Gold Glove caliber first baseman, year in and year out.
What a grab by Grace.
And this man with the Midas touch at first was equally graceful at the plate. No player in the decade had more hits or more doubles than this 24th round draft pick.
He found a way to get it done on a very consistent basis.
And that continued when he moved on to Arizona, where he helped his new team capture its first ever title.
Grace gets into one to right. This game is tied as Mark Grace hits it into the upper deck.
Being a part of that was pretty special.
The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Our next draft day surprise wasn't picked until the 39th round, and then had to toil 7 years in the minors before making the show.
Swung on and missed.
Yet, in just his 2nd year as a full-time starter, he found himself on the verge of pitching perfection.
The Angels have not had a base runner. There is the man on the mound. A perfect game for Kenny Rogers going to the 9th inning.
Kenny Rogers gives hope and optimism to anyone who was drafted beyond the 20th round in the amateur draft.
2 outs in the 9th. A fly to center field. Greer there. He's got it. A perfect game. Oh, baby. Kenny Rogers pitches the 11th perfect game in Major League history. A true gem.
Doesn't matter what round you be selected, it's how much you want it and how much you want to get to the big leagues.
Well, once he got there, Rogers would win 219 over 20 big league seasons.
He's got something to prove out there. He's been doubted. People said he couldn't do it. The guy goes out there and throws his heart and soul into the game, and it leaves it all out on the field, and you can see it.
Kenny Rogers dives and throws him out at first base.
One thing I knew that I could do is I could persevere, and I'm not afraid to go out there and keep competing.
And that determination went beyond the mound for this 5-time Gold Glove winner.
One of the best defensive pitchers of all time.
That grit and competitiveness was never more evident than during the 2006 postseason.
Swing and a miss, got him on strikes.
When he pitched for the Tigers and had that incredible postseason where he had 23 consecutive scoreless innings.
Tonight, he's dazzling. Got him again. Rogers has retired 8 in a row.
3 starts, 1 in each round, and not a single runner crossed the plate.
It's an honor to watch. One of the best postseason performances, ever.
What a sensational outing again tonight.
It's nice to know that if you're willing to go out there and take the chance, you always have a chance to succeed.
Welcome back to Prime 9 and the game's greatest draft day long shots. We began with Dusty Baker, followed by Orlando Hudson at number 8. Next came Mark Grace at 7 and Kenny Rogers at 6, which means it's time for number 5.
Mark Burley is one of those guys that if you're going to get him, he's like all the good ones. You better get him in the first couple of innings.
Strike three call to the outside corner. Mark Burley with a trademark inning.
He doesn't overpower people, hits his spots, good movement on his pitches.
What a spectacular performance by Mark Burley.
He's also a Gold Glover and the proud owner of a play for the ages.
Look at the play by Burley. Wow! From the Gold Glove winner, look at this.
And to think that more than 1,100 players were picked in the draft before him.
Mark Burley has to be one of the biggest steals of the amateur draft in the past 25 years for the simple fact that he brings 2 things to the table that every manager and pitching coach wants to see: consistency and durability.
What an effort by Mark Burley.
For more than a decade, Mark averaged 30 starts a season, a testament to his work ethic and good health.
He certainly has put up great numbers over the years, winning a lot of games, throwing a lot of innings. In fact, nobody in the big leagues has thrown more innings than Mark Burley since the 2001 season.
I think that's the starter's job, is to go out there and go deep into games.
And this ball game is over.
When a starter goes out there and goes at least 7 innings every time, it sets your bullpen up for success.
And the Sox enjoyed the ultimate success in '05, when Mark helped them break an 87-year title drought.
The White Sox have won the World Series.
He also became the 6th pitcher ever to throw an official no-hitter.
Burley, a no-hitter against the Texas Rangers.
And a perfect game in his career.
A perfect game by Mark Burley. History.
He was cut from his high school baseball team and was an afterthought in the draft. Boy, has Mark Burley proved a lot of people wrong.
I think the first top-round guys get more exposure, and I think they get more opportunities. But for a guy like Mark Burley, drafted in the 38th round, that just shows you how much adversity he's faced and just how strong character he has.
The proof is in the pudding when you really think about it, because this is a man that has had tremendous success at the major league level, and his career is not even over just yet.
Ryne Sandberg became a Cub 3.5 years after the Phillies picked him in the 20th round of the '78 draft, when they included him in a deal along with shortstop Larry Bowa.
Larry Bowa always used to tell him, you know what, you was a player to be named later. The Cubs didn't even want you. And he was like, well, in a couple of years, they'll forget that.
Did he ever make them forget, thanks in great part to one magical season that caught everyone's attention.
I think that he became a superstar player in 1984. You could see that this was a guy that was starting to figure it out.
How many second basemen can hit 19 homers, steal 32 bases, and rank at or around the top of the league in hits, average, doubles, triples, slugging percentage, and runs scored?
Well, Ryne Sandberg sure could. And that earned him National League Most Valuable Player honors in just his 3rd full big league season.
It was just one of those years where I just felt real comfortable and aggressive at the plate, and I got pitches to hit, and I didn't miss them that year.
Sandberg, in the Cubs' last at-bat, has twice delivered a game-tying home run.
He would hit 282 home runs in his career, make 10 All-Star appearances, and capture 9 consecutive Gold Glove awards at second base.
There's a starring play by Ryne Sandberg.
Why does he win Gold Gloves? Pretty easy to answer.
Ryne Sandberg, in my opinion, at the time, was the best second baseman ever.
Ryne Sandberg! Holy cow! Ryne All-Might!
Defensively, the Gold Gloves speak for themselves.
Superlative play by Ryne Sandberg. Hang a star on this one.
Offensively, he could hit for power.
Holy cow! Look where that ball went.
He could run. He was the total package.
Ryne Sandberg has done just about everything you can think of on a baseball field.
Draft pick number 511 went on to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame, the lowest round pick to have a home in Cooperstown through 2011.
A lot of people say this honor validates my career. I believe it is because I had so much respect for the game and respect for getting the most out of my ability that I stand here today. Thank you, and go Cubs.
many Hall of Famers come in the 22nd round in the 1985 draft? Well, in a few years, there may be one in the person of John Smoltz.
John Smoltz strikes out the side.
When John Smoltz burst onto the scene, he did it with a flair.
Go sit down. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Traded by Detroit to Atlanta, Smoltz went on to win 213 games, a Cy Young Award, and played a huge role in the Braves' spectacular run of 14 straight division titles.
Atlanta fans everywhere, let the celebration begin again.
It appeared for a time that elbow issues might end his career, but he found a way to save it.
One of the remarkable things about John Smoltz is in his career, he actually took 3 years in the middle of his career and became a closer full-time for the Atlanta Braves.
You know what John Smoltz has done this year is just unbelievable. What a change in careers.
He was also a stud in postseason play, going 15-4 with a 2.67 ERA. Who would have thought that a 22nd round pick would find such spectacular success on a major league mound?
Smoltz is definitely one of the best pitchers of his era. The fact that he was so consistent as a starter, then went to the bullpen.
Smoltz is only the second pitcher in Major League history to have at least one season of 20 or more wins and 30 or more saves.
I think in John Smoltz's case, the scouts didn't see the necessary tools to draft him, and they were wrong.
John Smoltz is on the doorsteps of Cooperstown.
In my mind, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. When I get that ballot, I will be voting for John Smoltz in the first time around.
We now return to Prime 9, where in this episode, we're featuring the greatest draft day long shots. These are men who had long and valuable careers in the majors, despite being taken very late in the June portion of the first-year player draft. More than 2,100 combined players were chosen before the top 2 men on our list, the longest of long shots to excel. We begin with number 2. There were more than 780 players chosen in the 1971 amateur draft before this 2-time champion and 1979 NL MVP. He is, of course, Keith Hernandez, a 42nd round pick in that draft and quite a steal for the Cardinals.
It's really amazing to think that a player of Keith Hernandez's caliber did not get drafted to the 42nd round. We're talking about an MVP.
Yeah, he was an MVP.
Woo! Got it! Got it!
He's a world champion.
I got a world championship ring.
You look at the era that he played in and what he did, I think he's one of the most special players I've ever seen.
79 through 88, that's 10 years. He played in more victories than any player in baseball.
To have Keith Hernandez go so low is incredible. You know, a man that basically changed the defensive posture at first base.
What a play by Hernandez! Oh my goodness!
Keith Hernandez is probably the greatest defensive first baseman ever.
It's a fair ball and Hernandez has got it. Woo! The throw is in time. What a play!
He's a vacuum cleaner.
You can see why Hernandez has won Gold Glove.
You talk about Gold Glove, it was almost like give it to him every year.
Look at Hernandez! A Golden Glove first baseman makes a Golden Glove play.
Plus, Keith Hernandez is a consistent 300 hitter who hits 40 doubles a year. And he also has, to his credit, 2 huge World Series hits.
Into left center field. In comes Mazzilli. In comes Wilson.
I don't think we won the World Series in '86 without Keith.
Keith was a true leader. He taught us all the young players on the team how to play.
It's hard to believe that an 11-time Gold Glove winner could have so many prospects chosen before him.
It's amazing to see that he waited that late to go. I'm not sure if a lot of scouts can lose their jobs by passing on him.
People forget Mike Piazza. He was an afterthought. His godfather was named Tommy Lasorda. As a matter of fact, that's how he got on the team.
Piazza, the catcher, getting his first trip to the plate.
I wanted him drafted, and I got 5 of my friends who were connected with baseball go out and see him play. 5 of them called me back and said he can't do anything. So that's when I decided we'll draft him.
Still, the 1988 draft all but came and went before he was taken by Los Angeles near the very end.
They did it on the 62nd round, which meant there were 1,026 players drafted ahead of me.
Scouting.
No, your godfather's Tommy Lasorda.
People were a little suspicious. They thought, Tommy's throwing a bone to a kid. He's just an affectation. He'll be here for a year, and then he'll disappear.
Well, that sure didn't happen.
Oh, my goodness.
And that first year, he explodes.
That was a monumental blast.
Even as a rookie, you couldn't help but notice how good he was offensively. He certainly thrust himself into the conversation of the up-and-coming great players.
He began by earning Rookie of the Year honors and went on to have the best single offensive season ever by a catcher.
What Mike did in '97, I don't know that we'll ever see that again. He rewrote the record book for offensive production at that spot.
He had that huge bat, this big swing.
Piazza has done it time and time again.
It is tremendous, the numbers that he put up as a catcher.
Take a beating back there, colliding with runners. For him to be able to do what he did offensively, it's remarkable.
How'd you like to get a guy in the 62nd round of that kid's tools? As a favor. Yeah.
The year that Mike was drafted, there were 161 catchers taken. Mike was drafted as the 160th catcher.
Now he has another distinction.
He'll be remembered as the greatest catcher to swing a bat ever.
A long shot without peer. This was a fun show, for it reminded us that stars can come out of nowhere. Consider the case of Albert Pujols. When all is said and done, he could emerge as the greatest player of this generation.
Albert does it again!
But in 1999, 401 prospective big leaguers were selected by teams before Albert was picked by the Cardinals in the 13th round. And then there's Nolan Ryan. He of 7 no-hitters and a record 5,714 strikeouts.
The remarkable Ryan has done it again.
The Ryan Express played 27 years in the majors, and his plaque now hangs in Cooperstown. Do you know how many future Hall of Famers were picked and signed before Ryan was selected number 295 in the 12th round in 1965? Just one, Johnny Bench. It just goes to show that sometimes it's the diamonds in the rough that end up shining the brightest on the diamond. That's our Prime 9. What's yours?